This is episode 7 of the Arts Academy podcast with Victor Varnado and Roxxy Haze. How to grow on Twitter with special guest Frederic Goldstein. Now, before we go in on Twitter, I just want to say that I am not necessarily the world's greatest expert on Twitter. I am an expert in a lot of random stuff, but not specifically Twitter. However, I did used to be a professional researcher, which helps me find the best information on things. And one of the things I did to research the information that we're going to be talking about today, number one, I just Googled, what's the best way to get followers on Twitter? What's the best way to use Twitter? But then, as I learned from being a researcher, what you do is you double check resources. So anyone who is writing an article on how to best use Twitter, I would definitely go check their Twitter and see how many active followers they had rather than followers that can be bought, or rather see how much interaction they had. So I would check out if their practices were actually working. And then what I did was I found the article where someone had been paid to compile the best of that information. So I found the very best article that I could find online about the best uses for Twitter. I'm going to share that with you right now. And that article is actually on the Hootsuite site. Now, Hootsuite, if you know what that is an online application that can manage your social media sites and then schedule them for you. And one of the reasons why it's important to them to put out good information is because they want themselves to be an authority on social media if they're going to say they want to manage your social media accounts. So they paid somebody to find the best information, which they did. And so they wrote an article about 44 ways to get more Twitter followers that actually works. And we're just going to go through that article really quickly, and I'll talk about some of the things that I've done on this article that have worked for me. And I'll also, in some cases, I'll go to my Twitter account and show you some things that have worked on my Twitter account and how they've worked. All right, let's get started. You know what? Roxy, Freddie, I'm going to ask you guys to move over to the left. Boom, you did.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm super excited to see this article too.
Yeah, me too.
I've been trying to grow my Twitter as well.
Yeah, the article is called How to Get Twitter Followers in 2019. Now, this is 2020, but I don't want everybody just to disregard all the information because it was written for 2019. Remember, we're still on the very same planet.
They should have made a more evergreen title, but yeah, I'm sure it's still good information.
Wow, way to critique their work. Let them be, Freddie. All right. So let's see. In fact, I would love to keep a running tally on how we all measure up on this. Do you have what's your Twitter, Roxy? I'm going to go to your Twitter too. I'm going to bring your Twitter up.
Roxxy Haze.
Okay, so it would be Twitter Roxxy Haze. Here we go.
I think I hit most of these points. I'm going to be a little cocky right now.
Okay. I mean, if you do, that's great. That's great, Freddie. Do you want us to grade your Twitter as we're going along?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. At Orange Freddie G. I think I was at 1,800, and I did a bit where I was tweeting about the year that corresponded to my Twitter followers. And since then, now I'm up to almost 2,600. So I have increased, but yeah, it's definitely a lot to learn still, because it's very much an incremental increase.
Okay, you got 2,600, and then we're going to just see how we do on this scorecard. We're going to go through these really quick. Okay, first of all, pin your best tweet at the top of your page. All right. Okay, let's and that's true, because when I pin an entertaining tweet to the top of my page, people always they mention it. Okay, so my tweet is actually the most recent trailer for my podcast, and then basically a statement where people always say that my podcast is confusing, and then I made this trailer so that people can understand it. It doesn't actually have a lot of likes, but it has a ton of interactions. Like when you look in the back door of Twitter, it has a ton of interaction, which is good. I would say that I'm doing okay in that category. Oh, this is the back end of Twitter, so we'll save that for later.
Oh yeah, I've looked at that before. Yeah, it's helpful.
All right. Okay. And this pinned tweet. Oh, this is a sketch I've seen you did, where you play lots of characters. Yeah, this is great stuff. This is actually really funny, and I'm sure there's a lot of interactivity. You got a lot of likes and stuff on there. That's great. Okay. And Freddie, how are you doing over here? You know what?
I just released a full stand-up set on my YouTube So I just pinned this tweet. I may pin a trailer soon, and I always kind of want to put either a tweet that did really well or some kind of video of me doing some funny joke up top.
Okay, and you feel like, do you know if people are interact with it a lot?
In your best
This
tweet.
one's not going to be great, but I'm going to post. I'm making a I'm having everybody make a trailer. I'm probably going to change it, but I'm trying to push people to my YouTube as I kind of relaunch that. I went from like 2 followers on YouTube, 2 subscribers to like over 50 in like a couple days. So like I've been kind of just diverting attention towards that right now.
Is it basically because TikTok has gone well for you that you're starting to take the rest of social media seriously?
Or at least YouTube. YouTube I was ignoring. Before this, I was Twitter and Instagram. Then I added TikTok, and now it's like, people are asking about stand-up, and stand-up videos don't work that well on TikTok for me at least. So I figured put it on YouTube and then get them over to YouTube, and that's it's an important platform that I was ignoring.
Okay, and I realize that if we check all of our Twitter on every single point on this is going to take forever. So we're just going to keep going through and maybe not check everything. Okay, perfect your bio. Okay, the idea is to make your bio interesting and succinct to tell people a little bit about yourself. I don't do that on purpose just because I'm a jerk. But how do you guys do on that? Bios?
Oh yeah, my bio is good. It has all the stuff that I do on there, and it's the same on each thing that I do. So yeah.
You do it more professionally.
How
about you, Freddie?
I do that too. Right now, I'm mentioning TikTok in my other bios, and because the numbers are kind of impressive, but then people are probably like, "Well, what? That's a fucking weird app." Like some people hate that app, so maybe it'll make me look worse. But who knows?
Yeah, people always hate things that are new. Do you know there were people who were like, "Are you crazy? Bring my poop inside my house? I'm going to poop and pee in my house? That's insane." There are people who are like that. All right. Okay. And then add a location to your Twitter bio. I think this one is specifically aimed more toward businesses, especially because this article is aimed toward businesses. So some of these I think are very business oriented, but it does matter, I guess, if you're like a comedian or an artist and you work in a specific area. Good to know. Get verified. You can't just get verified nowadays. They used to. Yeah. You have to wait for them to reach out to you. There was a time when they were like letting people apply to be verified, but then they're like, nah, and then they stopped that.
Can I just say, my least favorite Twitter is people complaining that they're not verified Twitter. To me, that's
yeah. I think being verified is actually really funny. I remember once I did a tweet where I was like, "Don't like this tweet unless you're verified," and then everybody who wasn't verified, who didn't like it, I would just insult them. But they loved it because they weren't verified, but they had attention. Okay, leverage your other feeds. Tell people to go to your Twitter. Do you guys do that? That's definitely one thing that. Do you guys do that at all?
In my TikTok chats, and it's been gaining a few followers. People would rather go to Instagram or YouTube, but that's Twitter. Yeah, that's definitely something I do. I want people to follow me in multiple places.
Okay, well, number 6 is definitely one I agreed with. Number 7, include your Twitter handle in your email signature. I don't do that.
I don't put my social media on there. I have it on like my press kit and stuff like that, but not my email.
I gotta tell you why I don't do a lot of the best practices. It's because like I am trying to create a personality for my personal brand. I mean, I know calling yours having a personal brand is vomitous, but it's what we do. And so I want people to feel like this guy is making really cool stuff and he doesn't really care about a lot of this stuff. And I don't really, I'm trying not to care. I'm trying to just like make good stuff, be smart and be funny, and then have people like discover it, and then those people who discovered me are the ones who stick behind it, and then they spread the word for me, so I don't have to do it myself. I really want to be eventually to be just like this brand that becomes a hidden gem sort of thing, but who knows? Maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't. All right, if you want to interject in any time, it's totally fine. By the way, look at this. Somebody says, "Hey."
Oh, that can be true.
Hi.
All right, this is actually one of the things that you can do with which is throw up what people say online, which is Awesome. All right. Okay. So number 8, embed your Twitter feed on your website. I want to do that. I haven't done it yet, but I will do that. Do you do that at all?
No, I don't even have my website up anymore. I actually need to reset it up. But I wouldn't put it on my website because I'm kind of like you. My Twitter is way more like vulgar and graphic. It's more like how my stand-up persona is. So my website.
My Twitter isn't vulgar and graphic. What do you mean, kind of like me?
Well, I meant that you have it separate. I meant the separation, not the vulgarity. Mine is gross.
Well, I would put my Twitter feed. I would definitely put my Twitter feed on my personal website. I wouldn't put it on my business website. But I would definitely put it on my personal website. Use Twitter buttons on your website. I actually didn't know a lot about Twitter buttons until I read this article. I'm going to find out more. But you guys, when you use this article, I'm actually going to put this in the comments right now, so you can actually. Did you already put this in the comments? No, you didn't. Okay, I'm going to put this in the comments right now so that you can go, because this also links to articles that tell you what those things are that you've never seen before. All right. Number 10, embed your tweets in your blog posts. I don't make blog posts, so I don't do that, but that seems like a good idea. Number 11, don't tweet in bursts. So apparently one of the number one reasons that people drop Twitter feeds is because there's too much information, too many tweets happening. But then again, I mean, they researched this, but I will say that in my experience, sometimes tweeting in bursts is a good thing when people are being active with you.
And engaging. Yes, I'm disagreeing. Especially now because, they have the threads thing. So if you're like doing a thread that's connecting, you kind of have to tweet in bursts. If you wait like an hour between tweeting, you're not going to get the same amount of engagement.
That's... Go ahead.
With the threads, people don't really read below, at least for me, beyond the second item in the thread. So the thread really, when you get like 3 levels deep, almost no one was seeing that. I think bursts is, we're comedians, we're artists, sometimes you kind of get in a groove. And then what ends up happening is one of those tweets ends up being really good, and you can maybe like retweet it later or whatever.
Okay, so across the board, we're pretty much disagreeing with number 11.
You're wrong.
For brands, it makes sense, but for comics. Now, my best friend did unfollow me because I tweet too often.
Well, I guess we're not 100% disagreeing with it. I've had people unfollow me because of my tweets. In fact, I really had somebody recently say that I should tweet less or be muter on Twitter. Like someone came after me on Twitter. This lady.
My brother unfollowed me because he said my tweets were gross and he didn't read them anymore. So
one of my really good friends' mothers unfollowed me for that same reason.
You're not even gross though. That's
it's because I talk about poop a lot, and so
you do talk about poop.
Yeah, I talk about poop straight up. All right, number 12. Do tweet consistently. That's true. I started tweeting consistently by using one of those Twitter management apps. I wasn't using Hootsuite's Twitter management app. I was using Buffer. But when I started doing that, my engagement went way up just because I tweeted regularly. Like I tweeted like a few times a day, and it would just put them out at certain hours. My engagement went way up. I will actually, at the end of this list, I'll share with you exactly like how I make sure my tweet engagements go way up, or how I did that. There's a chart that I'm not going to go through. Okay, number 13. Consider a quote tweet over a retweet. Yep. So when you're retweeting somebody, you have the choice of just retweeting it straight up or making a quote on top of their tweet. That actually works for me. In fact, I think my number one engaged tweet in about 3 months was because of one of those retweet quote tweets that I did with Casey Neistat. Sometimes, like when people tweet things that are kind of like dopey on Twitter and they're really famous, I'll make a joke about their tweet, and then it always makes them respond.
Yeah.
Because if I retweet them and I put a joke on top of it, then they're like, "Hey!"
I quote tweeted Mike Birbiglia, and he like replied, "That's really cool." And then that got like, I think that might be my most successful tweet. Also, sometimes I'll do a quote tweet, and then the screenshot can basically be like a meme on Instagram, and it'll get a lot more views there. I recently had one. It was pretty stupid that got some good engagement on Instagram.
Okay.
Stupid memes. That's like one of the. Is that on there? If that's not on there, that
is what? On there. Well, I don't know. We're only to 14.
Okay. If that's not on there,
I get it. You're very excited about that issue. Number 14, retweet yourself. I definitely do that.
I always.
Just especially old tweets that did well, you can just retweet them and people discover them as new. It's I wouldn't say do it all the time, but yeah, every once in a while, if you do a tweet that's like a couple of months old, you can retweet it. You're the worst.
I always do it because I'm getting if I'm lucky, I'm getting 10 or 20 likes on most tweets. So I want to give people another chance to see it just because I'm not getting that much love on any initial, and it's really, you're just scrounging for those likes. So I'll just always retweet. This way, I tweet at weird hours because that's when I think of the stuff. So I want that second bite of the apple.
Mm-hmm.
The second bite of the apple. Good metaphor. All right.
Oh, thank you. I stole that from someone in business. Back when I was in business.
Not a problem, man. Steal away. All right. Don't be spammy. I would agree with that 100%. Don't be spammy. People don't like that. That actually goes without saying. Number 16. Yeah. Definitely don't buy fake followers. Mm-hmm. That's true because there's so many ways that people can check right now. And if you have a lot of fake followers, not only that, Twitter actually routinely goes through and culls your followers right now. If there's
what happened to Mace.
Exactly. So don't buy fake followers. Use hashtags properly. The hashtags have been helpful sometimes, especially when you're tweeting about something that other people are going through at that moment. If it's current, hashtags are a great thing. I would say that I agree with that. That's a big plus. Participate in Follow Friday. That's hashtag FFAK aka Follow Friday. I don't do that.
I don't either.
And one thing is, people need to just in each tweet put only 2 or 3 names.
Don't put 50. It's way too much.
Yeah, and I think that I should participate in Follow Friday because I've come up on people's list and I feel bad that I don't really participate in it. But maybe I will. Actually, let's be honest, I'm not going to do that.
You're not.
Okay.
Not you.
Follow people. The idea behind this is you follow people, but with purpose. So if people look at your followers, they get a sense of your style and what you like. I agree with that. I do that all the time. I follow people. I try to make it worth it for people that I follow. Also, if people want me to follow them, then I usually, if they're like, hey man, follow me, then I probably won't follow them.
Yeah, it's annoying. Don't be annoying.
Yeah, because I punish people. All right. Number 20. Upload your email contacts to Twitter. I do not do that.
I don't do that.
I don't like giving away people's contact information on my behalf to companies, and so I probably won't. I won't and don't do that. But it is definitely something that can work. If you're going 100% mercenary on social media, then you can grow your social media by just doing every single thing here. But it also depends on what you want to do as your personal integrity. I'm not saying that you have no integrity if you give your friends' contacts to Twitter, but sort of I am, I guess. All right, 21. Search for people. Search. I don't do this. But I understand how it works. If you search for people that are in your area of interest, then and connect with them, that's a great way to grow your brand because their fans can become your fans. Tag other people in brands. I do that all the time,
and that works.
Yeah.
It does. I tag brands that I use, and I'll usually make a funny joke. I always make sure that when I tag them and make a funny joke, it has no swearing in it, so that they can retweet it if they want to. And then they show an example of Burger King talking to moon pies, but really, who cares about that? No. All right.
Okay. Let me add in there really quickly. Mm-hmm. People always ask me how I've gotten some of the sponsorships that I've gotten is literally from that, just making something and tagging the brand in them, and then sometimes they'll see it, sometimes they won't. But a lot of times they end up seeing it, and that's how I've been able to get different brand ambassador sponsorships and stuff like that.
That's great. I haven't had that experience so far, but I can see it happening easily. In my work, I work with brands all the time, and I know that brands just want to be cool. So if a brand thinks that you can help them be cool, you're in. All right, 23, monitor and respond to mentions and replies. That is 100% true.
Yes.
Not just in the fact that drives you up in the algorithm, but people who see you respond to people will want to talk to themselves, and it's just a monster that feeds itself over and over again, just because like the more people interact with you, the more Twitter's like, oh, this is a good person to feature and serve to people because they have high interactivity, because that equals money to Twitter.
Yep.
Okay. Monitor and respond to keywords in your niche. I don't do this. I understand that is a thing that you should do, but I have not done it yet. But if you do monitor and respond to keywords in your niche, you'll like when something is happening, like especially if you have like an alert on a particular hashtag that's in your niche, when something is happening, if you're like one of the first people to tweet about that, when that hashtag starts to trend, you will be you'll be one of those one of those posts that will always be in people's feeds at the top when they're searching for that hashtag. Yeah, and it's a very smart thing to do. But I don't do it, but it is definitely a good thing. 25. Host a Twitter chat. I didn't know what that was.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It is a real thing. You can host a chat. It's similar to like live tweeting an event, but different. For all that information, I would just go straight to this article, which is on Hootsuite, and then look up the host of Twitter chat. I'm not an expert on the Twitter chat thing right now, but I want to find out more, which I probably will today. Number 26. You can
also go live.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can go live. You can go live on Twitter also. You can even have guests. I thought about doing that, but then I was doing it on Instagram instead, and I go live on TikTok. So, but I may at some point.
I didn't know you can go live on TikTok. Yes, I gotta.
Everything's moving ahead. I think that right now, like everybody, if they don't, like if any social media brand does not go live at this point, I'm sure they're figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because like everybody's at home, time to go live, really. All right, live tweet an event. I have friends that do that, and that actually helps build their followers, because there's people who love to watch things alone, but then like goof around on Twitter while that event is happening. I think that's a really smart way to do stuff. I've never done it, but I've seen it. You've done it before?
Yeah, I think I did the Oscars. I did some Democratic debates. Yeah, it's super fun, and yeah, you get in that burst of creativity, and you have one or two good ones. Yeah, I don't know if I gained a crazy amount of followers from it, but yeah, it's something I enjoy doing if I have the time. Like I might do a little for the NFL draft today. I don't know. It's possible.
All right, ask good questions. That's actually good, especially for brands.
Yeah.
That's more aimed at brands. Although it does, like if you are a brand yourself, meaning you're a performer or an artist or whatever you're doing, that to elicit response from your audience is always a good thing. I love doing Twitter polls and making them jokes.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's like one of my favorite things to do is a Twitter poll that is a joke. It usually gets responses and often gets retweeted. And so, asking questions is great. Make public Twitter lists. I do not do that. I understand it's a good thing, but I don't do that. But some people who are super deep into Twitter will follow your Twitter list if you make them. Mm-hmm. But I don't do that so far. Have you guys done that at all?
I used to do that. I've been on Twitter since like 2009. So like
right.
Some of the stuff I haven't done like forever.
Well, I feel like making public Twitter lists is like the thing that you would do if you were like an influencer. Like if like especially like I bet it's the type of thing that even people pay to be on an influencer's Twitter list.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's lists of accounts that like people might want to check out.
Mm-hmm. You can do that, or just I forgot the other way you can do it. But yeah, mostly it's like accounts.
I don't know that I'll do it. Maybe. I mean, there is. Yeah, it'd be kind of cool. I don't know, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Okay, making private Twitter lists. Okay, so this is real. This is actually their version of this seems kind of sneaky. It's just like if you want to keep an idea on your competitors, but you don't want to actually follow them, then you can make a private Twitter list.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, that makes 100% sense. I don't again. I'm not a big Twitter list person. Be generous. Number 30. That is actually goes for almost everything. That if you're generous with information, people will want to follow you and know what the next thing is that you're going to do because they feel like you bring value to the table. So if you can bring value to the table in any way, that's always good. For instance, like this show brings value because we talk about subjects that artists might need to know. Let's go to there's an infographic there. Number 31, partner with an influencer. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, if you have the ability to partner with an influencer, that's great. If you guys are influencers of similar levels, but in different categories, that's also a great thing to do, because then you can cross-pollinate with your type of followers and their type of followers. Be prepared to manage a crisis.
Oh, man.
Well, that's definitely aimed at brands. Brands do, that's definitely aimed at brands, but that can be you too. Like for instance, if you're a comedian like Freddie, you could make a joke that people hate, and then they want to cancel you. I guess you would have to be prepared to manage a crisis. I don't actually understand why this is on the list of how to get more followers, because that doesn't seem to follow for me.
First 30 are going to work so well that you're going to need to have manage a crisis. You have so many
preemptive.
33, use promoted tweets to increase your reach. This does actually work. I've tried promoted tweets before. Actually, I've only tried it once, but it did work. And I should do it more. It's basically, if you've got a tweet that really, really, really works really, really well, it gets like a ton of followers in your group or a ton of organic followers, then you can promote that tweet because you already know that people respond to it well. That goes with anything. If you've got something on Facebook that people respond to really well, then you can promote that because you know it's already been tested. So I mean, assuming that you could make a commercial for yourself that has already tested positively, then not for coronavirus, but as a tool to spread your, personal gospel, then that's like a great tool. Like if you can make a post for free on Facebook and you find out that above all other posts, people really like that, definitely you can throw $25 behind that, promoting it if you want your thing to blow up, or Twitter or whatever, Instagram, all of the above. Always include visuals. 100% true. Things with visuals always get more responses. Period.
I do find that when I'm I got to add a picture to this joke, that means I know the joke's not that good or something, and it never does well.
I think that has more to do with you doubting yourself.
Something. When you post with organically have images, it helps. But sometimes I feel like if I try to shoehorn an image, it means something's not right. I don't know.
But people love memes. That's back to my memes thing. People love a good meme.
Yeah.
I've been actually trying to do more cartoons with my jokes, because I draw cartoons as well. And if I do cartoons with a really good joke, that is perfect. People love it. And I think that doing visuals and memes and stuff like that is great, because if people have something that they can share with other people and be like, see, this is my idea, but somebody communicated it better, that is the type of thing that can go viral. Mm-hmm. Include video often. True. Video also performs really well on Twitter, specifically because if you upload a video that's what is the limit, 2 minutes?
I think so.
If you upload a video that is 2 minutes or less, then it can auto-play on Twitter, which is great, because when people are going through their tweets, then they see motion as opposed to everything else, which is still, that definitely helps. And if you've got great visuals in your video, then yeah, see, look at that. 6 times rather than 3 times. Look at that chart. We're looking at a chart, if you just listen to the audio of this, where they show that video works best. Don't guess about the best time to tweet. This is about looking at your analytics in Twitter, as well as research that other people have done. Okay, so people have done all this research, and they've basically said that 3 p.m. is the best time to tweet. Now, they don't say if it's Eastern Standard Time or Pacific. They just say 3 p.m. And maybe that is true. Maybe that is true because maybe most people are just available at 3 p.m. to look at their phones or taking a break at work or whatever it is. However, depending on who your audience is, this number also changes. So if you look at when your audience is most responsive in your Google Analytics, then you can find out when it's the best time for you to tweet. Then you can go to one of those systems like Buffer or Hootsuite and then program your own schedule so that it always tweets at that time for you. Mm-hmm. I personally don't know I personally don't know if this exists or not, but it probably does. There's probably an app out there who can analyze your Twitter feed for you and then give you these answers. If I can find that, I will share it with people at another time. But I'm guessing it must exist. All right. Use Twitter analytics to measure what your audience likes. 100% true. We were just talking about that. I use Twitter analytics all the time. I don't really stick to it, but I'm always curious about it. And sometimes I will write jokes in that vein of what people like, but you can go deep into it and learn a lot more. If you don't know how to get to your Twitter analytics, let me show you really quick. What you do is, that is my analytics. What you do is when you're on your feed, on the bottom left-hand side, there will be a circle with these 3 little dots inside it. You click that, and then it brings up a menu where you can then click on analytics, which will take you to your Twitter analytics where you can see everything that you want to see about Twitter. All right.
Now you might need to be a business account to do that. Is that right? You might have to change your account.
No. I think you can just do that as a regular account.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about.
But I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm not an expert.
I think on Instagram and TikTok to get the analytics, it doesn't cost anything, but you got to call yourself a business account.
On TikTok, that is 100% true. I mean, sorry, on Instagram, I know that's true that you have to be a business to get analytics, but it doesn't look like that's the case on Twitter. Okay. A/B test your tweets. I have never done that. I probably never will. I will, however, become successful enough that I can pay somebody to do that for me. But I like what social media is, but I just have to manage the amount of time that I spend on it myself, because it's also important for me to just be true to just being creative all the time. And I like to make things, which I do like to share with people, but I don't want to go too deep into analytics. Also, I'm the same with other things too. Like, for instance, banking and finance. Yeah, I do understand a lot about banking and finance, but I work with somebody who helps me with that because I don't want that to be my 24/7 job. Delegate as much as you can.
Perfect.
But A/B testing your tweets is a real thing, but that also is aimed more at brands. The 80-20 rule, I believe that is more about sharing rather than self-promoting. That, in fact, that's exactly what it says in front of me. The whole idea is that you share and you give value 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time you can promote yourself. Because if you are valuable to people 80% of the time, then the 20% of the time when you want to promote or try to get them to buy something, they're open to it because you're valuable to them. With me, when you're a performer, sometimes it's a little bit different because, for instance, I will advertise my podcast or something like that is useful to people. I will lump that into the 80% for me, because if I'm giving away something for free that is useful to people, I can promote it freely and it's not a problem. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I think in everything in life, you want to be putting stuff into the bank before you take out of it. For sure. It is weird that some of the 80 is now people just posting naked pictures of themselves.
That is some of the 80, depending on how you want to go about it.
Yeah.
Be funny or don't. This is all about just your personality. Number 40 is be funny or don't. This is all about your personality in Twitter. You can. There are a lot of brands that are funny and have a point of view, and there's some that are just straightforward and helpful. You can decide what you want to be. If you have a particular style on Twitter, it's good to develop that personality, because then people get what they expect from you, and then that makes them happy. Write well. That's actually really good. If you write something tight and concise, it's more likely to be shared. That's 100% true. And I used to not even care about Twitter. I would just write the worst tweets all the time, very half-baked, not thought out. But then I changed the way I approach it, and that helped quite a bit. Edit better. Yeah, that's 100% true. Although I've sent out typos and given up on my tweets as well. Do you worry about editing when you guys tweet?
I do just because of my fan base.
Mm-hmm.
They will tear you apart if you misspell something. So if I didn't have that super nerdy fan base, I don't think I would be as anal about it, but I kind of have to be.
43, keep a personal Twitter account too. Ooh. This is actually something that, I mean, that's aimed at brands, which is great. But that is also kind of what I do anyway. Like, I don't look at anything on social media, for me, honestly, as personal. Nothing on social media for me is personal. My personal Facebook account, my personal Twitter account, all that stuff is measured. Like, there's things that I do not say or do online, period.
Yeah, me too.
Because I treat it all like part of my business, even if I'm letting you into my life in such a way, but it's in a measured way that I'm letting anyone into my life. And then I know there's a lot of people who think, oh, it's my personal account, then everything personal's a free for all. That I think is crazy. I don't do that. I mean, I know a lot of people do. I find it very entertaining. But
yeah, I don't do that either. That's wild to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not therapy, and also, yeah, anything you put online kind of exists forever. So be
absolutely
be professional to an extent, at least.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what that's just what I believe. I feel like it has done me a great service as I've moved forward, because as I move forward and I've worked with bigger and bigger people, like, people research you. Like, I've been vetted a couple of times before I've gotten jobs. And this is like, for instance, like in about 2 weeks, the show that I produced and directed with Facebook Watch comes out. Before I got the job with Facebook Watch, they vetted you. They go, wow. They look you up and figure your stuff out. So I never put stuff online that I like, it's always measured what I put online.
Yeah.
And also, I did go into a meeting once, and they were like, I was going into a meeting, I was trying to pitch shows to them, and then they brought up a video, which was me dressed in zombie makeup. Instead of doing Def Jam comedy, I was doing Death Jam. And so I was at a zombie. I was like, oh, y'all ever had a dead dude before? And I was going off. And but luckily I wanted that to be online, so it fit with what I was pitching them, so they loved it. But if you can imagine like something that you like, just think about everything you've ever put online being brought up in your face at your next meeting. Think about it that way. That's the way I think about it. Anyway, they thought it was a gotcha moment, and I was just like, no, that's what I'm about. And they bought a show for me. So just saying. All right. Make and share great content. That goes without saying. I think that's a great idea. That's number 44. And that's it. Those are all the things. And that's the author. Isn't she sad?
I would say about the great content, like, you need to just keep practicing. So, like, the first of anything you make is not going to be good. It's like getting the reps in. Just get better at making, shareable, good content.
I agree with that 100%. It's always just like getting the practice in and just doing it. I think the thing about social media is you have to just start doing stuff and keep doing stuff. And that is a way that you are going to get better and you're going to grow. It sucks sometimes because sometimes you don't feel like it. Mm-hmm. But if your business is entertainment, it's kind of part of the job nowadays. I mean, it really is sometimes. If you're not at the very, very top and everybody knows your name, then it's part of your job. Actually, somebody put it very clearly for me once, and I think it was one of those guys, marketing guys. I think it was like Gary Vee. But here's one thing that he said. He was like, who's the richest or highest paid chef that you can think of?
Gordon
Ramsay. Do you think there's a chance in the world that he's actually the best chef in the world? Mm-hmm. No, it's just because you know him. Like that, he is probably the highest paid guy, but he's definitely not the best. The best chef. It's 100% impossible. Anyway. One thing that I do, I'm going to say this last thing I'm going to say about Twitter before we move on to interviewing Freddie G. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, yeah. But one thing one thing that I do is I sign into my Buffer account in the morning, and then usually when I'm having my coffee, I'll write like six or eight tweets, and then have it dole them out during the day. I'll just write like just jokes. And then it really takes me like 20 minutes. And then for the rest of the day, my Twitter is alive and active. And since I started doing that, that has been it's just turned my Twitter from night to day, as far as like how many people interact with it and how many people are always getting back to me and like saying, you're funny, blah, blah, blah. Like, because it's just like, it's active all the time. Every few hours, it's already programmed in. When it comes out at those specific times. And then I set up a system where I don't have to think about it and put in a lot of effort anymore. And that's like the best thing for me, where I can get those results without having to put in all that effort. Love it. You can find us at artsacademypodcast.com.